I'm Mrs. Leffer. I teach fourth grade, and I'll be reading the next part of our book, Because of the Rabbit. Rabbits have scent glands under their chins. They rub their chins on things to claim them as their own. When I got home, Mom told me that Owen had texted. He made the soccer team. Now he'd probably have practice every day. That's great, I said flatly, unpacking my backpack. I could smell that she'd been baking something yummy. What smells so good? Mom grinned. I baked chocolate chip cookies. How many kids are coming over today? Only Jack, I said. Thanks so much for making cookies, though. And can I borrow your phone? I'll need to take a video. Mom nodded. Sure, it's on the counter. I put her phone in my pocket. Just so you know, I said, feeling like I should warn her. Jack's a bit different. I think he might have some special needs. Different makes life more interesting, Mom said. I nodded, though that seemed like one of the easy things people say to gloss over hard parts. He especially likes to talk about animals. Just like you, Mom said. Even more than me, I said. In fact, if there were a TV game show where all the categories were animals, Jack could be a millionaire. But when Jack and his mom arrived, I was surprised that he'd stepped back as Molly and Maggie came over, barking, tails wagging. Girls, Mom said sharply to the dogs, go lie down. As Molly and Maggie trudged to their beds, Jack's mom said softly, it's a sensory thing. Jack loves to read about animals, but in real life, they can be overwhelming. No problem at all, Mom said. Can I make you a cup of tea or coffee while the kids do their homework? Tea would be lovely. I'll put the kettle on, Mom said. Make yourselves at home. And if you'd like to wash your hands, the bathroom is through that door. But no frogs are in there, Jack said sadly. Mom laughed. Oh, Emma told you about those? You're right. We don't have frogs in the bathroom regularly. That was just a homeschool science experiment. The frogs grew up, and we let them go back to the pond where we'd found the eggs. Let's work in my room, Jack, I said, quickly to change the subject. My rabbit is there, but he only makes quiet sounds. I got a piece of kale and a few blueberries from the refrigerator for Lappy and the plate of chocolate chip cookies for Jack and me. Come on. As we were climbing the stairs, I heard Jack's mom talking to mine in the kitchen. Thank you for having us over. The other kids at school are mostly kind to Jack, but they almost never think to include him outside of school. So this is really nice. It's nice for Emma too, Mom said. She's been hoping for a friend. I felt bad that Jack and I were both getting left out of things. Being left out hurts. I turned to him and rolled my eyes, in case he was as embarrassed as I was that our mothers were talking about us. But his eyes were focused on my bedroom door, his fingers flickering at his sides. He looked a little scared. It's okay, I said. Lappy can stay in his pen if you want. When I opened my bedroom door, Lappy immediately put his paws up on the side of the pen, excited to get out and have a run. Later, I promised him. Jack and I have work to do. Lappy thumped his back foot on the floor. Rabbits thump to warn other rabbits about danger, Jack said. Usually, I said, but this rabbit is telling me that he wants to have a run and he's mad that I said no. Jack stared at Lappy, his fingers twitching harder. Let me out of here! Did he mean Lappy or himself? Are you okay? I asked. I'm fine, Jack said plainly, without taking his eyes off Lappy. How are you? I smiled. I'm fine, too. Lappy thumped his back foot again. He's mad that you said no, Jack said, his eyes bright with excitement. He wants to come out. Was Jack asking me to let Lappy out? Hey, I have an idea, but it's okay if you don't want to. A good idea? Jack asked. Well, you get to decide if it's good or not, I said. You could sit at my desk and pull your feet up on the chair. I promise Lappy won't jump up there. He can have a little run around the room, and then I'll put a treat in his pen and he'll go back to get it. Jack didn't look 100% sure, but he sat on my desk chair and put his heels up on the seat. As soon as I opened the pen door, Lappy hopped easily onto my braided rug. His first free hops were always light and dainty. Little front feet, big back feet. Then he'd pick up speed, darting under my bed and out again, with long leaps that were so fast he'd lose his footing and slide on the hardwood floor. Jack gave a high-pitched laugh. "He's a wascally wabbit," he said in his Elmer Fudd voice. "He sure is," I said. In between hops, Lappy would suddenly stop and rub his chin on something, claiming it. Dresser edge, mine. Heater, mine. Quilt, mine. Bookshelf, mine. Lappy paused and rubbed his chin on my foot, his whiskers tickling around my flip-flop. "You, mine." "He's claiming me," I said. Then Lappy suddenly leaped and twisted, like all the happiness inside him had exploded and lifted him into the air. He landed facing Jack. "That's called a binky. I read about it in the rabbit book I got at the library. It means he's happy." I handed Jack a blueberry. The book also said blueberries are one of their favorite things. Jack threw the blueberry at Lappy's feet. He sniffed it and then ate it up. "I should have known he'd love them," I said. "My Pepperay used to tell a story about how Monsieur Lapin tricked Monsieur Renard the fox out of his blueberries." "What story?" Jack asked. I hesitated. It was one thing to remember Pepperay's stories or to tell them in our family. It was a whole different thing to tell another kid I didn't even know that well. But Jack stared at me, waiting. So I took a deep breath. It happened once that Monsieur Lapin saw Monsieur Renard the fox sitting in a blueberry patch, grooming his beautiful red tail before he feasted on all those delicious berries. "Foxes are omnivores," Jack said. "They eat both plants and animals." "That's good to know," I said. "But Monsieur Lapin has magic, and this is a story, so don't expect things to stay completely real, okay?" "It's a lie," Jack said matter-of-factly. "No. Though I guess if there were only two choices, it wasn't true." I shrugged. "Stories are somewhere in between. Do you want to hear it anyway?" Jack nodded. "Yes." As Lappy chinned the leg of the desk chair, Jack pulled in his feet tighter, his arms wrapped around his legs. "Okay, so Monsieur Lapin said, 'Oh, Monsieur Renard, your tail is so glorious, but you've missed a spot.' Monsieur Renard was very proud of his tail. "Where?" he demanded. "What kind of spot?" Jack said. Pine pitch." Jack nodded and I continued. Monsieur Lapin pointed. "Right there." "No, a little more to the right." "Almost." "A little more to the right." Soon Monsieur Renard was turning around and around, spinning so fast trying to reach the spot that he fell down dizzy. Monsieur Lapin jumped right into those blueberries and ate them all. So it was. I couldn't tell the story as well as Pepperay, but still it had been fun to share it. Lappy went up on his hind legs to look at Jack. Jack let his arms go. His fingers twitched hard as he slid one foot tentatively toward the edge of the desk chair. I held my breath as Lappy moved his chin across the toe of Jack's shoe. Then he landed his front feet back on the floor and took off again under my dresser. Jack looked over at me, his mouth open. "He claimed you," I said. Jack kept his feet up on my desk chair, but his hands stopped twitching. "Let's touch him." "You want to touch Lappy?" I asked, surprised. "Only his back." "Okay, but he doesn't like to be picked up," I said. "So sit on the floor and I'll put a blueberry next to you." As soon as Lappy came over for the blueberry, Jack reached out one trembling hand. 3 quick, barely there touches. I waited for Lappy to hop away, but he didn't. "He likes you," I said. "Maybe because your name sounds like a rabbit too. Jackrabbit." "Jackrabbits are really hares." Jack reached out and patted Lappy again, so lightly that I couldn't tell if he actually touched Lappy's body or just the very tips of his fur. "Monsieur Lapin," he whispered, "and Jackrabbit." Rabbits don't consider breed, age, or size when choosing a friend to bond with. I would have liked to hang out with Jack and Lappy all afternoon, but I imagined Miss Martle with her spinning finger. We had to get our video done. So I put the rest of the blueberries in Lappy's pen so he'd go in to get them. "Let's film our video before we run out of time," I said, closing the pen door behind him. "I'll introduce you and you can introduce me. Did you bring any props to show when we reveal your answers?" Jack opened his backpack and took out a bag of Legos, Dr. Seuss's ABC, and some loose tickets like you'd get for a raffle or to attend an event. "I learned to read at age 3, Jack said. Big A, little a." "Great," I said quickly before he launched into the whole book. That's one truth. What about the Legos? I like Legos. Having grown up with Jack, the other kids would probably already know he liked Legos. What's the coolest or best thing you've ever made with Legos? I asked. A dinosaur skeleton. Seriously? How big was it? Jack held his hands wide apart. Wow, that's amazing, I said. Do you know how many Legos it took to build it? It doesn't have to be the exact number. Close is good enough. Jack looked off into space. 730. I considered that. Okay, that's a cool truth. But maybe we should be extra tricky. What if we twist it to make that the lie? I could say, Jack once built a dinosaur skeleton with 200 Legos. Then, for the reveal, we can say, wrong, it was over 700 Legos. Jack smiled. Yes. What are the tickets for? He picked up one and read the back. Raffle, Pumpkin Festival, Damariscotta, Maine. Did you win? I asked. It was the only reason I would have kept a raffle ticket, to remind myself how good it felt to win. No, Jack picked up another raffle ticket. Raffle, Christmas Fair, First Parish Church, Rangeley, Maine. Did you win that one? No. If you win, you have to give the ticket, he replied. Have you ever won? I asked. No. I felt like I was bungling this. Maybe just because I didn't understand why he kept those tickets didn't mean there was a good reason to Jack. And maybe I didn't have to understand why. Maybe just the fact that he liked them was all that mattered. All right, that can be your second truth. You have a collection of raffle tickets. If we didn't get filming, we'd run out of time. I want to change my statements from the ones I said at school. My first truth will be that I love to go kayaking. I used to go with my brother a lot, but now he's in high school and busier. I didn't really mean to tell Jack that. It just came out. You'll just say, Emma likes to go kayaking, though. I had a secret plan with that statement. I was hoping that some other girl would tell me that she liked to go kayaking too. Then I could invite her over and we could go together and she could use Owen's kayak. Jack ripped several sheets of paper out of his notebook. What are you doing? I asked. Cue cards, he replied. Great idea. I waited for him to write my first statement. The second truth is I once climbed Mount Katahdin. Jack wrote it easily, even spelling Katahdin correctly. I thought Miss Hutton would like to know that we both like hiking and mountain climbing. I wouldn't tell her that I almost didn't make it to the top, and Owen had to coax me to keep going, though. And the third one is Emma has a pet parakeet. Jack paused, his pencil above the paper. It's the lie, I reminded him. After the kids guess, I can show a photo of my real pets. A photo isn't as cute as the real thing, but wait, what if I brought Lappy himself? Was that crazy? On the one hand, that would be a bit complicated and a lot to coordinate, and I didn't even know if Mom would have time or if it was allowed. On the other hand, it could be quick. If Mom could bring him, I could take him out of the carrier and let the kids pat him for a couple minutes. Then Mom could take him back home. It wouldn't take a lot longer than showing a photo. But maybe Mom would start talking and tell the kids something embarrassing about me, like how she told Jack's mom I wanted a friend, even if it was the truth. Maybe Dad could bring him? Dad was a big part of Lappy's story, and if he didn't tell embarrassing stories about me, thinking they were cute. Suddenly, I was glad Iris and Leah hadn't been able to meet Lappy yet. This would be even better. It could be a big dramatic moment for my reveal. Most kids love pets. Everyone would want to meet Lappy and talk to me about him. Maybe it'd even bring me my best friend. You know how our program has 3 parts? I asked Jack. First, we say the statements about each other. Then the class guesses. Finally, we reveal the answers. Yes, Jack said. Okay, I have an idea. Let's do the statements about each other on video, just like we planned. I'll introduce you and you introduce me. But then on the day we present, let's do our own reveals in person. It'll be more exciting for the audience. You can bring your Lego dinosaur skeleton, or if it's too fragile to bring, maybe you could bring a photo of it. I bet the kids would think it was awesome. It'll give you a chance to tell them about it. And maybe I can bring Lappy. Jack smiled. Yes! It felt great that Jack was excited about my idea. It made me feel a little braver about telling Iris and Leah that Jack and I had changed the plans. Okay, let's get filming. I'll go first, I said. Since one of Jack's truths was about reading, I stood in front of my bookcase. Just film me no matter what happens. We can edit later. I don't like being recorded, and I wished I had made some cue cards too. But I smiled my friendliest smile as Jack pushed the button on Mom's phone. Let me introduce you to Jack. Here are some statements about him, but only 2 of them are true. See if you can guess the lie. I paused for extra drama. Jack collects raffle tickets. Jack built a dinosaur skeleton with 200 Legos. Jack learned to read at the age of 3. As I said each statement, I tried to keep my face the same so I wouldn't give away the lie. Which one do you think is the lie? Then Jack stood in front of my dresser. I arranged the cue cards on the windowsill behind me so the lie would be last. I wanted to end with Lappy. Let me introduce you to my friend Emma, Jack said loudly, like he was an announcer at a basketball game. Emma likes to go kayaking. Emma once climbed Mount Katahdin. Emma has a pet parakeet. Which one is the lie? Listening to Jack say things about me in such a big way felt weird, like hearing about someone else, even though I did like to kayak and climb mountains. But so what? The other kids didn't seem to be taking this assignment so seriously, and I had to start somewhere. The only way the other kids would ever get to know me was if I shared things about myself. It might work out perfectly, too. I imagined one of the girls in my class hearing Jack talk about me and then seeing Lappy. Wow, she'd think, Emma is so interesting. She'd ask if she could pat Lappy. I'd say, sure, and then we'd talk. I was pretty confident that I could take it from there on my own. It was just so hard to get started. Even though this felt weird and uncomfortable, it would all be worth it if I found a best friend.